What I'm about to reveal will shock you about how quickly the entertainment industry's most protected figures can fall. In less than 72 hours, one of America's biggest late-night hosts went from untouchable media darling to completely canceled, not by Twitter mobs or political opponents, but by his own network, his own affiliates, and the very system that had protected him for decades. Jimmy Kimmel stood before millions of viewers and made a choice that would end his career. Not a joke that fell flat. Not a ratings dip. A complete institutional collapse that revealed something terrifying about how quickly media power can evaporate when you cross certain lines in our new digital age. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, America needed healing. Instead, Kimmel weaponized tragedy. He spread a false narrative claiming Kirk's killer was part of the MAGA gang, conservatives responsible for murdering one of their own. The reality proven through police investigations and court documents told a completely different story. The killer was a radical leftist with overwhelming evidence, text messages, social media posts, even engravings on bullets, showing he hated everything Kirk represented. But Kimmel went further. He mocked President Trump's grief, comparing it to how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. A sitting president expressing genuine sorrow over an American's assassination became material for cheap laughs. Within hours, something unprecedented happened. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr issued a public statement calling Kimmel's conduct some of the sickest behavior possible. The FCC doesn't intervene in comedy disputes. They manage spectrum allocations and technical broadcasting. But this was different. Carr reminded everyone that broadcast networks use public airwaves, carrying special obligations to serve the public interest. When the FCC chairman discusses broadcast licenses and public interest violations, billion-dollar operations pay attention. Kimmel had crossed from controversy into potential regulatory violation. The broadcasters who had carried Kimmel for years began backing away. Nexstar, operating more television stations than any other company in America and reaching nearly 40% of households, announced they would no longer air Jimmy Kimmel Live on their ABC affiliates. In one decision, Kimmel lost access to close to 40% of American television households. Sinclair Broadcasting went further. They not only dropped Kimmel, but announced they would fill that time slot with a special honoring Charlie Kirk's memory. A major broadcasting company was using Kimmel's former time slot to honor the very person he had mocked. Disney executives weren't motivated by sudden conservative sensibilities. This was pure business mathematics. Kimmel had become a liability threatening the entire network. Sponsors were nervous. Affiliate stations were rebelling. Regulatory agencies were asking questions. All this for a show that wasn't performing well enough to justify the headache. The decision to suspend the show indefinitely came from Disney's highest corporate levels. This wasn't middle management avoiding controversy. It was calculated business strategy from executives who understood protecting Kimmel was no longer economically viable. Kimmel was already hemorrhaging viewers before the controversy. By late 2024, he barely pulled in 1 million viewers nightly. Individual YouTube channels, run from bedrooms, generated more daily views than Kimmel on a major broadcast network. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld's late-night show consistently drew over 3 million viewers, triple Kimmel's audience. The data showed steady decline over several years, with Kimmel losing 10-15% of his audience year over year. For a show costing millions to produce with dozens of high-paid staff, these numbers represented serious financial problems extending far beyond politics. What happened to Kimmel represents something revolutionary. The first genuine challenge to entertainment industry cultural monopoly in decades. The old system had sophisticated protection mechanisms, publicists managing narratives, friendly entertainment reporters providing sympathetic coverage, audiences with limited alternatives. That ecosystem has been fundamentally disrupted. When Kimmel made his comments, he faced immediate pushback from independent creators, podcasters, and social media personalities reaching audiences directly without traditional media gatekeepers. These voices provided real-time fact-checking with access to police reports, court documents, and verified information, completely contradicting Kimmel's narrative. The traditional advantage television hosts enjoyed making claims and moving to the next topic before facing meaningful scrutiny had completely evaporated. Network executives found themselves dealing not just with political controversy, but sustained information campaigns undermining their hosts' credibility in real time. When credibility built on appearing informed and morally authoritative gets destroyed by verifiable facts, the entire foundation collapses. As traditional late-night shows lost audiences and credibility, alternative voices experienced explosive growth. Gutfeld's success wasn't accidental. He provided comedy that didn't constantly lecture audiences about their beliefs or cultural values. He could mock politicians from both parties without partisan scripting. Most importantly, he seemed to actually like his audience rather than viewing them as people needing education or correction. Independent creators on YouTube and podcast networks began attracting audiences rivaling anything major networks could produce. They responded to current events immediately, didn't worry about nervous corporate sponsors, and built direct audience relationships without network interference. Even unexpected voices joined this cultural shift. Jeffree Star, primarily known for makeup and fashion, became a significant political commentary voice simply by saying celebrating political assassinations was morally wrong, regardless of the victim's beliefs. His appearance on Piers Morgan's show defending Charlie Kirk demonstrated something crucial about changing cultural landscapes. Starr lost followers but gained even more new ones for prioritizing basic human decency over political tribalism. This pattern repeated across platforms, creators breaking from expected political positions connected with audiences they never expected to reach. Hollywood is learning that the era of consequence-free political grandstanding is over. For years, entertainment figures made outrageous statements, spread questionable information, or mocked large American segments with minimal career risk. The industry had sophisticated systems protecting its own, especially when controversial statements aligned with prevailing political winds. Kimmel's fall represents that protective systems collapse. When statements become so inflammatory, they threaten business relationships. When fact-checkers immediately contradict claims with verifiable evidence. And when audiences have readily available alternatives, better serving their needs, the old rules stop applying. While political controversy provided the immediate catalyst, Kimmel had already become a business liability. Entertainment forgives talent, political positions, even controversy if you're generating profits. But when you stop being profitable and start creating problems, even the most powerful networks eventually cut losses. The controversy provided Disney executives with something they'd quietly sought for months, a clean exit strategy that didn't look like canceling a show for poor performance. They could frame the decision as taking a principled stand about public responsibility rather than admitting a flagship program had become financially unsustainable. What we're witnessing isn't just about conservative versus liberal politics. It's about competence, authenticity, and respect for people choosing to spend their time and attention on your content. The speed with which Kimmel went from protected late-night institution to industry liability demonstrates how quickly these changes accelerate once reaching a tipping point. Network executives who had ignored declining ratings and growing audience dissatisfaction suddenly faced regulatory pressure, affiliate rebellion, and sponsor nervousness simultaneously. Their traditional controversy management tools proved largely ineffective against sustained criticism from independent voices providing immediate fact-checking and context. This represents a fundamental shift in how cultural power operates in America. For the first time in decades, establishment media institutions are genuinely vulnerable to grassroots accountability, creating real consequences for major figures. The protective barriers once shielding entertainment elites from their statements and decisions' effects have largely crumbled. We're entering a period of genuine competition in the marketplace of ideas and entertainment. No longer can a handful of New York and Los Angeles executives determine what the rest of the country will find funny, interesting, or worthy of attention. The new landscape rewards authenticity, accuracy, and genuine audience connection over ideological conformity or institutional support. Kimmel's downfall isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of something far more interesting. The future belongs to voices that earn trust rather than demand it, and audiences that think for themselves rather than accept what they're told. In this new media landscape, respect isn't given, it's earned, one authentic moment at a time.